Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Beginner's Guide. In this episode, we're going to be taking our friendly villagers that we rescued in the last episode from their village, behind me over that direction somewhere, and we're going to make a villager breeder. Now, if you clicked onto this video because you want to see how the villager breeder is made, but you haven't seen the rest of the series, that's absolutely fine. You can carry on watching. Although it is part of the beginner series, it is also a standalone episode. Therefore, the only other episode you may want to watch is actually finding and moving the villagers, and I will link that up into the top corner. What we are going to need for this, if we look in here, we've got all the ingredients down ready for you. We need 80 dirt, 1 stair or slab, 2 water buckets, 9 trapdoors, 3 beds, 1 composter, 1 block. If you have a light block, that's ideal. If you don't have a light block, then you can use any other block with some torches around the side. That's fine. We need a hoe, we need 80 carrots, we need 2 villagers, we need 12 glass, 2 powered rails, 1 button, at least 1 minecart, and then some normal rails. And then of course we want either a roof or a lightning rod, and that is to keep the villagers safe from lightning. We don't want them turning to witches. That's a bad time for all involved. And then you also want some building blocks. So these blocks are all kind of mandatory. These are what the actual build requires. These are just what I'm building with because the blocks I've got, that's what this is made out of, I guess. If you're building other blocks, if you have other designs, other, palettes, colors, build whatevers, these optional bits, you can just use whatever blocks you want to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here into our old multiplayer world, and I'm just going to pop into spectator mode just to give you an idea of what we're going for here. So this is kind of the building I'm looking to do. So the wood around the outside and these glass panes are the optional bits I mentioned just now. So it depends on how you want your building to look. The bits that mattered is we have the 2 villagers here, one of which is a farmer. So we got the composter there. We have our dirt, and that should be hoed as well, just with loads of carrots. And basically what happens is the farmer here will go around farming up all the carrots, and he will feed the other villager. And that's basically what they need for breeding, as well as some beds. So over here we have the 3 beds. We have 2 for each of these 2, and we have 1 for a baby. And that gives them all the requirements they need to start breeding. They have food, they have each other, and they have a bed. What more do you need? Villagers think they can walk over trapdoors, no matter how they are. So what we have here is we have these 6 here, which makes these villagers think they can walk across them to the bed. So the pathing is there. However, these trapdoors here prevent the villagers walking because the villagers are 2 blocks tall. They can't fit in this gap. As you can see there, that guy could not fit underneath. However, when a child is born, he can. He'll just run straight across there and straight down here. So down here, we have our collection system. We have some water here, which pushes the villagers into kind of the corner here. And we have our powered rails so that when we want to use them, we can. All we have to do, if I go into creative mode for a second, we need a minecart. We take our minecart, we pop it on this powered rail here, and we press the button. And that picks up a villager and sends them off. And that's how we move them around. The light block I mentioned is this one here. It gives light to the room and to the crops as well. If you don't have a light block, a dirt block with torches around the side works just as well. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So as I mentioned, we have our mandatory blocks, which is how the mechanics work. The trapdoors, the beds, the farm, the villagers, the glass, the water, the rails. And we have our optional building blocks, which I'm using the oak. You can use whatever you're using, whatever you want to. So let's get back to it. So what I've got here is I've dug myself out a build area. So what we need is the mandatory bits are 13 by 9. And that is 9 by 9 for the actual farm. We need 2 gaps, so to get 11 to a 9. And then the 2 beds take it 13 to 9. What I've got here is 15 by 11. And that's just 2 extra blocks either way, and that's 1 at that end, 1 at this end, 1 at that side, 1 at that side. That's just for the casing to go around it. So what I've got here is the middle of my farm, of the actual farming field. So this is the center block. So what I've got is I've got 4 blocks on this side with 1 for the wall. I've got 4 blocks on this side with 1 for the other wall. 4 blocks this way. 2 gap for the trapdoors, 2 gap for the bed, and then the other wall. So what I'm going to do here, I have all my bits on me. So I'm going to go up 3 blocks, and the third block is going to be the stair. So this is going to be 1, this is going to be 2, and then the stair is going to be the third. And what this does is this gives us a height of 2 blocks, which is what we need and is what the villager needs. And then I'm going to take my dirt and I'm just going to go 4 in each direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we've got there is we have our 9x9 farming field. So we have 4 in each direction to give us a 9x9. I'm just going to fill in these corner bits now just to finish the farm. And there we go. So we have a 9x9 here with a stair in the middle. And what we do here is we take our bucket of water and we just waterlog that stair. Now, if you remember from the earlier videos where we were doing over there, a water source will hydrate 4 blocks in each direction, which is why we go with this size field. It's not something we've chosen. It's kind of chosen for us. So we're just going to take our hoe and we're just going to right click each block just to turn it into farmland. And as you can see, the hydration is where it goes dark like this. And you can only get it in 4 blocks in each direction, which is why we have a 9x9 with the water in the middle. There we go. Right. 9x9, water in the middle. Next thing we do is we take our composter, we pop it on top of the stair. And then on top of this, we need another block. And the reason we do this block here is twofold. Firstly, it gives us somewhere to put our torches around. And secondly, because the villagers, they like to jump up here and jump down. And when they do that, it tramples the ground, which is really annoying because then you have to keep going up and keep farming it back down again. So by putting a block on top, if you have a light block, that's perfect. If you don't have a light block, this is also fine. We just stick some torches around here. And this just stops the villagers from jumping on top of the composter and then jumping on the floor to cause it to go back to dirt. Next thing we do is we take our carrots and we just put them down. This allows us to give some time to the carrots to start growing. At this point, we're not in any particular rush. We do have some bone meal, however. If we want to force them to grow, we can just use the bone meal. So that's our farming field done. So the next thing we do is we take our trapdoors and we go to the side where we want the beds. So I'm going to go over this way. 1, 2, 3. Put down the blocks for the bed. And then we can use that to put down the others. So just look at the top half of the block, place them down. And as we right click them, we just open them up. And that allows the villagers to think they can walk over them. But they can't, and they just fall down below. And we'll get to that in a bit. We're going to leave these up for the moment, just so we can walk back and forth. And then we're going to take our beds. We're just going to plop them down. The other thing we do need is we need some sort of archway here. And that then allows us to put the other trapdoors on the bottom like that. And we can walk under it because we're not quite 2 blocks tall. Villagers can't walk under it because they are exactly 2 blocks tall. And they get their heads stuck on it. They basically headbutt this and they don't try and go any further. So all I've done here now is I've gone around and put the frame on. And this is just, everything here is 2 blocks tall, just because that's how I want this particular build to be. As I mentioned earlier on, this bit is kind of mandatory with the beds, the trapdoors, and especially these trapdoors. Kind of this bar here with these trapdoors here are mandatory. These logs here, these can be whatever blocks you want. These can be your building style, your theme, your palette, however you want to build them. So that's my particular build done. Get the framing on. We've got the windows in. And this is pretty much it for this bit here. All we need now is the actual villagers in. And we'll do that in a little bit. We need to kind of finish off down here first. So this is where the water is going to come in. So I'm just going to block this off. I'm going to put a bucket of water in one of the corners. And the reason we put it in one of the corners is so it pushes this direction. If we put it here, for example, you can kind of see it pushes 2 directions. And that doesn't really help with trying to get our villagers all in one place. Even if we put our glass down, in fact, I don't have... I'll do it with wood. I don't have silk touch. So even if we kind of do it like this, what's going to happen is in here, it's still pushing into this corner. So a lot of our villagers will get stuck in the corner like this. So what we have to do to get around this is we actually put this water source in one of the corners. And it will push into this corner, but it won't push into that corner. And that helps us force the villagers to go where we want them to go. And it is nighttime again already. So we take our glass. This is going to be where the villagers are kind of stuck. So the first thing we want to do is kind of force them down this path. So as you can see, the water ends here. So this will be where the villagers are collected. And we can just kind of block it off. And we end up with something like this. So placing this one was actually a bit of a mistake because we need this one. I don't have Silk Touch on mine, so I'll have to get another piece of glass in a minute. So then all we do is we take our powered rails. We take one rail first, a standard rail first. We pop that on top there. We take our powered rails. We put one there, which causes it to link to this one. And then we put another one there. We break this rail. And then we put another glass down there. Then what this does is as the villagers fall down the gap, they get caught in the water stream. It's pushing them to this direction and in this direction. So they are forced into this spot on the end here. And by having this here, it means that when the villagers are in that position, we can press the button and it will whisk our villagers away. And that's pretty much it. That's the breeder done. All we need then is our button. So I'm just going to pop down there. And that is just to activate the rail. So we take our minecart, we pop it on there like so, and we click that. It'll pick up a villager and it'll whisk them away. I'm just going to fill in the rest of this. And then we're going to put some torches down here because it being this dark, it's going to cause things to spawn. So basically all we want to do is put some torches just around. Not too many torches because of how the light levels work now, but just enough so that it's light in here. And there we have a working breeder. We just need to get the villagers up there. And I'm just going to get another piece of glass to replace this. Like so. And that basically means that all the villagers are going to trap in this corner. And there we go. So now all we need to do is get some dirt blocks back. I'm going to open these. And this bit can be quite frustrating. So, I'm actually going to take my bell. That's my bell. I'm going to take my bell. I'm going to use the same technique we used to bring the villagers over here to force them up there. I'm going to break this bed so they can only link to one of them. And hopefully... now he can only link to one bed. If I ring this bell, he should go straight up there. Perfect, he does. Need to get this guy doing the same thing. And then we need to block him in as quickly as possible. And then we take a look at our work. This villager has picked up the job from the composter there. So he's going to be farming all these carrots and then he'll be feeding this villager. Now you can see from here, the villager is actually taller than that trapdoor. So as I mentioned earlier on, when these guys breed, the baby is going to run across there thinking he can run across these trapdoors. However, these guys, while they think they can, they actually can't because the trapdoor will block them. The only remaining thing to do is you can either put on a roof, depending on how your building is, or you can put down a lightning rod. Now, a lightning rod will attract lightning to it from a 128 block radius. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring it up here and stick it down there. And then because these guys are in the radius, they're never going to get hit by lightning. And maybe one day, I'll come back and actually put roofs on things. But that's not really my thing. So, not likely. And there we go. So now if we sit back, we wait a bit, we should see some magic happening. The only other thing you want to do if you're building around a side like this is to be careful about the height of the blocks next to it. So if there is a block such as like this, where there's only kind of a one block height, it means that people can jump up here. And that allows a zombie to path inside the breeder. If you have it up against something like this, you need at least a 2-block difference there. So the zombies cannot get inside. Otherwise, these guys are going to turn into zombies and you'll have to do it all over again. So the best thing to do is either away from all the sides like this, or if it's dug in somewhere like this, just make sure that there's a 2-block height to it. Right, so here we are back a little while later. As you can see, I have taken my bone meal and I've gone in there and I've grown all the carrots myself. I also grew a whole bunch of carrots myself, as a few stacks really, just to throw in there with them. And that was just so they could start. They need some food to start with. Now, I don't know if you noticed then, when the baby was born, he ran straight over there. He's a little hooligan. He wants to jump on the beds. But because the trapdoors are down, he just falls straight down into the water. Now, as we go down here, you see he's in the collection corner. He's been pushed over to here by the water. Now, what we would normally do is put the minecart on here and press the button to collect him and zoom off. However, because he's only on his own at the moment, he's quite far over this side rather than this side of the block. So what we need to do is we need to wait for a few more villagers to pop up down here. And that will allow us to actually collect the villager once they're all kind of stacked up in that corner. So if I do this, doesn't collect him. When there's a whole bunch of them and they're kind of pushing each other in this corner over here, then it will collect them and you can use them for whenever you need them for. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a little while longer. So that should be enough. Here we are a while later. As you can see, we've got quite a lot down here now. It's been running for quite a while just to let this build up a bit. But as you can see, with the water, they're all forced into this one block. And because they're all kind of pushing each other, they're also being forced into this corner. So now if you put a minecart down and press the button, we pick one up and away he goes. And obviously this time we've got a baby, but eventually these guys will grow up and these will all be adults. And that's pretty much it. And then all we need is, all we have left from the actual ingredients list is a whole bunch of other rails. And that's basically just so you can just take them to wherever you want them. You can either rail them because they're already in a cart, or you can use the bell method. The rail is probably best because most builds with villagers don't actually have beds, although you could lay one down, use it, and then break it. But that's it. That's all there is to these breeders. So they're actually really easy to make, but they are so powerful to use. I think we've done a good job here. You know all the stuff. If you like the video, let me know. If you've got a comment, any ideas, any thoughts, give me a shout, stick it down below. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next episode. And, well, the next few episodes are probably going to be taking advantage of this, really, because there's so much you can do with villagers. So that's it. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!